Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today.
Better get the coleslaw, y'all, because we're having us a barbecue.
Tina Knowles has finally come to a settlement with her former husband, Richard Lawson, 13 months after she filed for divorce. Now, Tina Knowles decided to file for divorce from her husband, Richard Lawson, 13 months ago, and it took over that time to finally come to a settlement which both parties agree will basically dissolve the marriage. Now, Tina Knowles basically has told Richard Lawson he can't talk about their relationship or the divorce, and in exchange for him not talking about the relationship or the divorce, she is going to allow him to get $300,000 in a cash payment, and he will be receiving a 2021 Cadillac Escalade and be able to continue maintaining all of the earnings he received over the course of the marriage as an actor, and have a complete separation of their funds, and his SAG pension plan and other things made during the union, and will be able to keep all of his clothing and jewelry. So he basically is going to be coming out of the marriage pretty good as related to things. However, Richard Lawson basically got into this whole situation basically because he was one of these simps, and as a simp he basically was so fixated on Tina Knowles and mesmerized by her amber brown eyes and her creamy light skin, and as he was caught up in the fantasy that he imagined of Tina Knowles, he basically played a game a lot of simps play in hurry up and wait, and just sat there waiting for his turn, wasting time out of his life. And finally, once he got older and saw that Tina Knowles was on the market after her husband and Tina wound up divorcing as a result of his alleged affairs, this is where Richard Lawson decided to go out here and be the dirty Mac and try to slide in sideways. And as he looked to slide in sideways, he thought he was finally going to get the opportunity to be with the girl of his dreams. And what happened to Richard Lawson is he wound up in a nightmare. And he wound up in a nightmare because in his dreams, he basically was living in a rose-colored reality and couldn't see the real picture as related to who Tina Knowles was. And because he couldn't see who the real Tina Knowles was, he basically went and was caught up in his fantasy of getting with his dream girl. But once he got with his dream girl, that's basically where he wound up in a relationship nightmare. And he wound up in this relationship nightmare because he just didn't understand that when it comes to women, once they have gone out here and gotten involved with another man and had sex with another man, the spirit and DNA of that man is basically bonded to that woman. And as the two of them have become one as related to a marital relationship, she is basically spiritually bonded to that man. So she will never be emotionally attached or connected to that any other man. And that's what Richard Lawson didn't understand, because he was so caught up in his ideal about Tina Knowles that he didn't understand the real woman could never have a satisfying relationship with him. And he thought, oh, I'll just try to make this marriage work like simps usually do, because once simps try to come in sideways, what they try to do is go through the side door, trying to come at a woman sideways, and then as they come in through the side door, what they try to do is try to make things work, because when it comes to a simp, he doesn't understand that relationships either flow organically or not. And if a woman isn't flowing with you as related to her vibe and a connection, you can't make things work. But you'll have a simp who will go out here and try to make things work the way Richard Lawson tried to do. And as they try to make things work, what they find is that this woman is not going to connect with you, not going to bond with you, and basically just sees you as a tool, sees this guy basically as a tool to take them from point A to point B. And in the case of Tina Knowles, basically she saw Richard Lawson as a tool that she needed to sate her ego after having it bruised by her husband, who allegedly was the one out here cheating on this beautiful light-skinned black woman with crystal amber eyes and creamy mocha skin. Basically, she had a major bruise to her ego that her husband didn't think she was the finest thing anymore, and because her ego was bruised, what she did was go out here and find a nice big fat juicy simp to go out here and gas that head up and give her a sense of self-esteem and a sense of self-worth, and basically use this guy to basically sate her feelings and get her confidence up. And after getting her confidence up, what Tina Knowles did 5 years later, when she felt like she basically could be able to return to the social marketplace, was look to discard Richard Lawson because he had outlived his usefulness. And that's where Richard Lawson, the simp, basically wound up in a place where his fantasies got shattered. And his fantasies got shattered because he thought, oh, this girl of my dreams is definitely going to live with me happily ever after. No, you were just a pit stop in life for her to get her bearings. And now what Tina Knowles wants to do is basically think, oh, I'm the light-skinned chick with the crystal amber eyes and the creamy mocha skin, so I can go back in the social marketplace in my older age and find me another hot guy. That's what this 70-year-old woman possibly believes, because when it comes to the modern feminist indoctrinated woman, what the modern feminist indoctrinated woman believes is that she has all the time in the world, and she believes that she can go out here and find a better guy. And now Tina Knowles, after dealing with Richard Lawson and his simp self, now she wants to go out here and enter the social marketplace looking for a quest for the better deal, but all she's going to find is the same rude awakening that hit Tia Mowry, the same rude awakening that is hitting 61-year-old Vanessa Williams and 57-year-old Halle Berry again, and 60-year-old Vivica Fox. She's going to find out that there's a lot of stiff competition in Bust Downtown at bargain prices that are 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price. And she's going to be in for a shock when she sees a whole lot of hot, light-skinned women who were hot back in the day in the marketplace of Bust Downtown at these bargain prices. And as they go on a quest for a better deal, she's going to find that there are no more simps looking for any sort of deal, because the men in their generations basically are married at this point, and or they're in the grave. So the marketplace of guys has gone from her being chased by a lot of dudes in her youth, like Richard Lawson, to slim to none, and she's basically blown her chance at love because this was her final simp. And after taking out all of her anger out on her final simp and getting rid of her final simp, she's going to find the pickings being slim to none. That's the rude awakening that awaits Tina Knowles out here in the social marketplace, where at 70 years old again, she's thinking she can get a better deal. But that the thing was, Richard Lawson was the last deal. He was the last guy on the lot looking at her, and basically she didn't respect this man, did not regard this man, did not value this man, man, she didn't really value any of these guys because she was caught up in feminist hypergamy. And as she was caught up in feminist hypergamy, she thought she could monkey branch from man to man. But at this point, she basically wound up falling completely off. She wound up falling completely off because, again, at 70 years old, this was her at her last chance. And now that she's basically blown her last chance, Richard Lawson, he's coming out with 300 stacks and a Cadillac Escalade, and hopefully he's learned a hard lesson about simping, possibly learned a hard lesson about simping, because he basically, again, is coming out in some way, but he's if he's still got the simp mindset, he's basically going to be an old simp. And when I look at Richard Lawson, he basically shows the lesson of what happens to a high value man in his older age. He turns into an old simp, and this old simp sadly kept pining for a woman who basically didn't want him when she was younger, and basically settled for him when she got older. And as she settled, she basically didn't see any value in that man outside of his convenience, and because she only saw the value in his convenience, she wound up getting rid of that man because she thought she could get better. And as she went on this quest for the better deal, she got a raw deal, and that raw deal basically is why she's basically settling this marriage, thinking she's gonna come out and go back on the marketplace. But the only place she's going is Bust Downtown, and doesn't know that in Bust Downtown, where she's going, she's got stiff competition, and all of this stiff competition has one foot in a banana peel, the other one on a grave, and basically are going to be examples for the next generation of women of how not to compete in the social marketplace, because going through multiple husbands, it basically is not a place you want to be. And going through failed relationships to wind up all alone in your older age is not a place you want to be. You don't want to be like these women who are from the modern era, because most of these women from the modern era have made a bunch of mistakes, and those mistakes basically have them not going to be at the side of their families as they are in their older age and enjoying their grandkids. No, they're in Bust Downtown, basically looking at the graveyard and reflecting on their lives, reflecting on failed relationships and failed marriages. And it's a sad state of affairs again for Tina Knowles, who's going to be in a really dire situation. And Richard Lawson, yeah, he got some money, but I hope he learned a lesson about being a simp in his old age, hoping he finally learned something about simping, because simps basically wind up losing in the end. And Richard Lawson basically got lucky as related to things, because he could have wound up like many old simps, basically all broken, busted. I mean, this could have been a bad situation for him, but he basically came out of this situation. Yes, she don't want you to talk about this whole situation, because she's thinking this will allow her to stay competitive in the social marketplace. That's why she put the gag order on Richard Lawson. But all of the truth is related to this relationship, and why it failed basically is textbook for me as related to my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. What we have here is a tragic story of what happens when you become a final simp. What happens when you become a final simp is you basically are like a toilet bowl where she dumps all her crap out on you from a previous relationship, and after she dumps out all her crap on you, basically she flushes you down and goes out looking to find the man that she really wants. That's what happens here as related to the final simp, and I did a whole classic video on the final simp. And the end of this marriage just shows you the grand finale and what happens to final simps. Final simps basically just get dumped and flushed, and after they get dumped and flushed, basically this woman goes on, and this guy basically winds up in a situation where instead of him being with his dream girl, his final memories of the girl of his dreams are that she basically put him straight into a nightmare. Now, if you want to learn how to avoid being a final simp, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me talk about men's issues in videos, you can send a donation to the Patreon, PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.